Welcome back to another deadline stream ahead of Double Gameweek 20, and we still got around 2 hours and 90 minutes until the deadline. We're going a bit earlier than usual, but there's so much to discuss, and we've got another spanner in the works with Ivan Toney being declared fit and available to start against Bournemouth by Thomas Frank himself. We're going to go through all the news that you need to know, and you can see all my transfer plans in the poll that I just put out. Let me know your thoughts. I am heavily considering, like I discussed in my team selection video, to go for Ivan Toney. The only doubt really that will be at the back of my mind is whether he would get a suspension at some point. It could happen at any stage, but I have a sneaky feeling that he could get away unscathed over the next 3 game weeks, where he faces the likes of Southampton, Leeds and Bournemouth up next. I mean, those fixtures are some of the best you can ask for, and I think Mitrovic is still a good option against Chelsea and also Tottenham in the upcoming game weeks, and even Newcastle. He shouldn't be, the worst option in the world. But I am heavily considering a -4 hit to go to Toney and get rid of Salah for Kevin De Bruyne, and maybe do a bit of a switcheroo between those two premium options if Liverpool do get that double in 21. But it's looking less likely at this stage, and we're going to cover that as well. So welcome to everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. Let's get to your questions as always. And I know that there's going to be so much, hopefully some different questions as well, and a lot of different situations to cover. So welcome, Ada. Keep Walker or sell to Stones? I'd probably keep Walker because Stones is ruled out for the first game, so there's no point going to him, and Walker is expected to start there. Obviously it's very difficult to say who's going to start for City or not in the back line, but I'd probably keep Walker. Free hit activated. I'm playing a fool's game. Do not do the same. I mean, good luck to you. I wouldn't play the free hit. I discussed this in the best free hit team videos. I made 2 of them with an updated version yesterday, and I wouldn't use it. But then again, it could be a different situation for you. You might have had so many fires to put out, and I hope it pays off for you. Yep, Stones is not playing the Manchester Derby. Exactly that. Welcome, Joyce. When I started this, what is the best Man City defender right now? I think it's either Akanji or Ake. It's a really close call. I think both of them will start the 2 games, but it's still very difficult because you just never know with Pep and with City defenders. And not to mention, when Ruben Dias comes back in a few weeks' time, then he's also another one to consider. And I think that one of those 2 centre-backs you bring in will end up not being nailed on in the long term. But for the double game week, I think Ake or Akanji. I'm leaning more towards Akanji. He's been the one that I've always talked about, but I'm still a bit unsure about both of them, and that's why I might not go for either and just go for a single game week player in Ivan Toney. So let's see what else we have. Yeah, we are starting up early here today. I just figured why not, to be honest, and I saw some of you already in the chat. Thoughts on bringing in Toney for Mitrovic? I'm, definitely on board. For free, I would do it, without any hesitation. For a -4, that's where the doubt comes in for me. And actually, in the poll right now, it is leading, going for Toney and KDB for a -4 hit. But I'm still a bit unsure about it. And I think it's just a -4 hit that really puts me off. But as you can see on my team selection, so if I unselect this message here, I've got Kepa in goal. I've got 2 Newcastle defenders. And I'd be a bit unsure about going for Mitrovic against that double up. I've got, obviously, Luke Shaw, Rashford, Salah, Almiron, and Martinelli with Kane, Haaland and Mitrovic up front. But if I were to bring in KDB and Ivan Toney, they would obviously replace Salah and Mitrovic, and that strengthens my team, I think, for this week. But in the long term, there will be some issues. Toney could blank in game week 25, and whilst he could have a double in 22, that's still an outside chance of Brentford versus United going into game week 22. And also, Ivan Toney still has that suspension looming over him, whilst Mitrovic has some decent fixtures still. Chelsea, Tottenham are not that bad right now as fixtures, and not to mention Nottingham Forest, and I think game week 23 or 24. So I don't think Mitrovic is a must sell. He's still a good option, probably the 4th best forward in the game right now, although Nketiah is also in the conversation. I just think Ivan Toney is by far the best in terms of those that are not Haaland or Harry Kane. Stones is injured. Yep, exactly that. Did De Gea and Tanganga for Kepa and Cancelo for 2 free transfers. Was that Tanganga? Or maybe I've misunderstood that. But yeah, David De Gea is a good option this week, and getting rid of Cancelo looks fine to me. But Tanganga, I'm not so sure. Cancelo to Perisic, Salah to Mahrez, Mitrovic to Kane. I'm not a huge fan of Perisic. For this game week, he's decent. Beyond that, I wouldn't really want him, to be honest. Salah to Mahrez looks good, in my opinion, and Mitrovic to Kane. I can understand why he did Salah to Mahrez, to be fair. It funds the other move, and those are some good transfers overall, but still a bit unsure about Perisic beyond game week 20. Salah to KDB versus -8 for KDB versus... Oh, that's really difficult. That is really difficult. I'd probably take the -8 option because you cover 2 of the best premiums besides Haaland in game week 20. Please help me decide. -8 in hits. Cancelo to Doherty and Andreas to Mahrez. Is it worthy? I'd probably keep Cancelo and not go to Doherty. I think Cancelo starts one of the double, and I think in that game alone, he could outscore Doherty. I don't really see too many clean sheets for either team, but if I had to back one, either Man City or Spurs to get one clean sheet in Game Week 20, it would be Man City. But obviously, there's a lot of headaches that I can understand why you're considering it. Andreas Damares looks like the transfer for me. I would do that. Cancelo to Perisic, Salah to Mahrez, Mitrovic to Kane. Let me just get that up once again. Yeah, as you can see, we are very stacked right now in the chat. We're going to try whiz through these. I definitely have to. So yeah, I think those transfers are completely fine. For some reason, I think my chat just bugged out. Darwin to Tony for a hit or start Martinelli? I would do Darwin to Tony for a hit. I think it's worth it. Who is triple captaining Haaland? That's a good question. Let me know in the chat right now who is triple captaining Haaland. I might put a poll out very soon as well, just to see who's tuning into the live, who's triple captaining him, and just putting the normal armband on him like myself right now. Zaha or Kulusevski? Kulusevski. He's actually confirmed to start against Arsenal, which is what I expected even a week or two ago, and he featured in the best free hit team video. Yeah, I'd go for Kulusevski over Zaha. Hi Dylan, Perisic or Doherty? It's a really close one, but probably Perisic because he's a bit more nailed on in my opinion. Yeah, Saka's flagged, but don't worry. Arteta said that he should be fine. He said this after the game and also in the press conference, the embargoed one that was released just now. Tony is not injured. He's confirmed to start by Thomas Frank. Akanji or Ake? Like I said earlier, I'd probably lean towards Akanji, but it's a really close call. And you could argue in terms of recent games, Ake is maybe the more nailed-on one, and he can also play as a left-back, but I do prefer Akanji a little bit more based on what he's done since he's joined Man City. Darwin, Cancelo and Saka to Kane, Akanji, Ake and Almiron for a -4. It looks good to me. The only doubt I would have is selling Saka. I think he'll be fine for the North London derby, and beyond Game Week 20, I think he's a great option. But you could always get Martinelli and Odegaard in terms of Arsenal midfielders later on, so I think that's completely fine. I'd take the -4. Wanted Mitro to Tony, but 0.1 million off. Can't even select Martial as he's injured. Yeah, I do feel your pain. And to be fair with Martial, he's a bit of a troll anyway. And, he could have done decent in the stubble, and he still could, to be fair. But Ivan Toney's by far a better option. Of course, you're 0.1 million off. But Mitrovic, for me, is a better option than Martial anyway. What is this question? You're very hungry. Do you prefer a burger or a pizza or a sushi? Italian pizza would be the answer there, but I can't say no to a well-cooked burger, to be fair. Last option is for a -4, by the way, says Lager. Let me see if I can get your question. Okay, so I was thinking of doing Patterson to Shaw, since I have 2.6 million in the bank, and then bench Mitrovic. Thoughts? I could also do Mitro to Martial and Patterson to Shaw, and then bench Martinelli. I wouldn't do that last option. I like Patterson to Shaw. That's completely fine, but I wouldn't do the rest. Either benching Martinelli, that doesn't sit right with me, to be fair, even against Tottenham, and also Mitrovic. So from those options you said, I will do the first one and get Patterson out for sure and just bench Mitrovic. And even then, it's maybe not the most comfortable thing, but I'd rather that than take a -4 and also bench Martinelli. Hi Dylan, Mahrez for Saka for a -4. It's a really close call. Would I take a -4 for that? I think I would, but assuming that in the weeks to come you will bring back an Arsenal midfielder, because I think they offer some of the best value options in the midfield. Triple captain Haaland or keep for double Game Week 23? Out of 20 and 23, I still think Game Week 20, in terms of minutes, for example, expected minutes, I think Haaland is a better option in Game Week 20 compared to 23. I think he could be rested against Villa, which is the fixture you want him for, and then he has a tough one in Arsenal on paper. So I'd probably say Game Week 20 out of those two, but then again, it's a really difficult decision. Then you could argue, in my case, well, why not triple captain him now? Because there's still that hope they could have a better double later in the season, or maybe instead I'll go to an Arsenal player or Rashford later down the line. But I think I'm going to save in terms of the triple captaincy. Yeah, Saka flag, don't worry about that. Arteta said himself that he's fine. I wouldn't be too concerned there. Thank you, Lager. No worries. Thank you very much. Cancelo or Darwin out? I'd rather get rid of Darwin out of those two. He's going to be out for the game against Brighton. Cancelo will probably get one start in the double, and that's enough. And to who? I'd get Darwin out for Tony in your situation. Mahrez and Kane or De Bruyne and Tony? Oh, there's some tough questions in here tonight. I'd probably go for De Bruyne and Tony. Long term, I think Kane's the best option of the four, but at the same time, I'd rather have De Bruyne and Tony over Mahrez beyond Game Week 20, and that's what kind of sways me in that direction. White, Botman and Mitrovic, bench one. I'd bench Ben White. You can see in terms of my bench, Ben White is third on my bench, Mitrovic is starting, so you can kind of gather, the way I'd rank it. I wouldn't put Ben White over the other two, to be fair. I think Spurs will score. Unfortunately. Captain Rashford, I think why not? He's a good option. there is actually a debate that he's a better option than Harry Kane because of the yellow card suspension risk. If it wasn't for that, Kane would definitely be above in my kind of ranking because Kane tends to do well against Arsenal. He even did really well in the last game against City at the Etihad. But yeah, I think Haaland first. I'd still put Kane second and Rashford third in terms of my captaincy ranking. Haaland triple captain will work on 2 games or 1. It will work for both games. So you can see when you go to the FPL website, he's got 2 fixtures. Both games will count towards Game Week 20. That's the appeal of triple captaining a double Game Week player, maybe playing the bench boost, using a free hit. There's different things you can do, even wildcarding into a team for the next few weeks that will then have doubles. So that's why chip strategy is also heavily dependent on double Game Weeks. Start Havertz or Cucurella. Wow, I mean, they're both awful in my opinion. If I had to start one, I'd probably go for Cucurella, assuming you don't have Kepa, if that's the case. If you've already got Kepa, then maybe I'll just go for Havertz, but honestly, they're both poor, and I would like to get rid of all of them at some point. Thoughts on triple captain Rashford? I don't mind it. I think he's a good option, but I do think there are better choices this week, and not to mention later this season, I think Rashford will have better doubles. And also, you look at Arsenal players, they could have a really good double later in the season as well. Obviously, nothing's confirmed in terms of the doubles beyond 23, but there's a lot of possibilities there. I don't think it's the right time to use the free hit, but it's all team dependent. For your situation, you might have 6-7 players that you don't like in your starting 11, but I would mainly save it for a double or blank game week later this season. I know there's a double right now, but I don't think it's maybe the right time for most of us to use it. Is Mahrez a trap? I think he's a good option, at least for the time being. In the long term, do I think he's a great choice? And would I buy him and keep him for the rest of the season? No. And in that kind of situation, you could argue he's a trap. But I think he's a good option for Game Week 20, for sure. Would you start Ward over Kepa? No, I don't think I would. Take a -12 to get rid of Havertz and Cucurella. -12 though, it depends which players you're bringing in. If you're doing Havertz to Tony and Cucurella to Luke Shaw, I would do it. But otherwise, I'd be a bit hesitant and cautious about taking massive hits. Darwin out for a -4, and to who? Like I said, probably Tony. Apart from the usual Harry Kane, Haaland, I'd say Ivan Toney's the next best for me. Then it would be Nketiah and Mitrovic kind of competing for 4th and 5th. I think those are the best 5 strikers in the game right now. Martial to Tony -8. Yeah, I would do it. I would take the hit. Martial's not going to play against Man City. Then he's got Crystal Palace, where he could do well if he starts. But you've also got Weghorst signing for United, and I think that could also cause some complications. Martial's injury-prone in general, so I would take the hit. Did Cancelo to Lewis and Adams to Kane. Looks really good. 4 premiums. So, look, I think it could do really well for you in specific game weeks. But in the long term, you know, you might be a bit careful. You have to be a bit careful about having 4 premiums. I think 3 is already maybe stretching it a little bit. And I know there's a lot of value in the game right now. So 4 premiums isn't, you know, completely undoable. But I'd just be a bit careful long term about it. Which C defender is the best replacement? Like I said, for me, it's Akanji first, then Ake. You know, kind of since last week, I've said Akanji first, then Stones, then Ake. Right now, obviously, with Stones missing out, I'd put Ake above Stones, but Akanji will probably remain first. I think most people would argue, though, Ake would be, you know, the top option right now, followed by Stones, then Akanji. I think about it a bit differently, though. Let's see what else we have. Kind of the chat is just all over the place, so I'm kind of losing messages, unfortunately. Hi, Dylan, your thoughts on Nketiah as a Darwin replacement? Yeah, like I said earlier, he's in my top 5 forwards in the game right now. But you've also got Mitrovic, who's a decent option, and not to mention Kane and Haaland and Ivan Toney. I'd go to Toney if you're looking for a strike around 7.5 million and below. If you have the funds, I'd go to Toney. If not, I don't mind Nketiah at all. But in terms of my ideal triple up in Arsenal, it would be Ben White and then 2 Arsenal midfielders in Odegaard and Martinelli. Darwin to Toney, yep, I would do it. I wouldn't really think about it, to be fair. What about the wildcard? You can check out my best wildcard team video. Not much has changed from that, if anything at all. I would go with that. And instead of Stones, who I think I put in that team, I'd go for Akanji or Ake. Keep Cancelo. Depends on the situation. If you have to take a hit to then go to someone else that you're not that sure of in the long term, like an Ake or a Akanji, then I'd probably hold off and just keep Cancelo. But in most cases, I'd sell because it could also help you funding another move, like getting Toney or maybe even Harry Kane up front. Is Lewis a good option? I think he starts one of the double. I'm not sure if he starts both. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him. He's a cheap option, plays in one of the best teams in the league, if not the best. And he also is a nice rotation option. And if he doesn't start, you wouldn't expect him to come off the bench. So I don't really mind him too much. But at the same time, I think there might be better defenders to go for this week and also beyond Game Week 20. Mitro to Tony for a -8. I mean, as a solitary hit, it's, I'm still kind of a bit in two minds about it, but it's still worth it, in my opinion. With the next 3 games in mind, if Tony doesn't get suspended, I think he's one of the best options in the game over the next 3 game weeks. Could have a double in Game Week 22 against Man United. There's a lot to like with him. Just bear in mind that he will probably blank in Game Week 25, and you will probably have to get rid of him in a few weeks' time. But you could do a bit of a switcheroo between the two, and that's completely fine. I'd probably go for it. 7 million forward option. Well, apart from Tony, who's obviously a bit above that threshold, I'd say Nketiah and Mitrovic are the best options. And I still think Mitrovic is better long term, but for the time being, I'd probably put Nketiah slightly above. Mitrovic out, 4.5 player suggestion. A 4.5 million forward, probably Ferguson from Brighton, if not Greenwood. Mitrovic or Cucurella or Bueno? Mitrovic out of those 3. Hey Dylan, I transferred Stones. What do I do? I start him or White? Well, Stones is missing out the first game, as you probably know. I'd still start Stones, though. I think City have a better chance of keeping a clean sheet against Spurs at home than Arsenal do away from home. I think Spurs will be more up for the North London derby there. Would you still do Darwin to Tony for a -12? Yes, I would. You've already made the other transfers, and in that case, doing Darwin to Tony, I think it is still worth it. Ake or Kanji? Like I said earlier, Akanji. I'm probably going to get this question quite a lot, but just for those that are kind of tuning in just now, I prefer Akanji from City defenders. Then it would be Ake. And it was Stones originally in second place, but obviously he's missing out the first game. So Akanji first, Ake second. Thoughts on Martial? It's difficult for those that have him. And I think maybe some people will have to keep because you don't want to take hits to then go to, other strikers. But honestly, I'd probably sell to Tony if you can. Salah or Mahrez? In the long term, I think Salah. The Game Week 20, Mahrez. And also what I like about Mahrez is he has a double in 23. I would expect him to start, from the next kind of 6 games. I'd expect him to start 4, maybe get some good minutes in the other 2 as well. So I think Mahrez over the next 3 game weeks, with the 2 doubles in mind for City. Nketiah versus Martial. Nketiah for me is the better option. I think he'll score more goals, get more points, plays in a better team, and there's a lot to like about him as well. He's been really impressive since the World Cup. Martial has been very, average really, and if you were to go for United attacker, it's Rashford, and that's it really for me. And I'd actually rather double up on United defensively than go for a double up in attack right now. Rodrigo, good differential this week. Yeah, I think so. He's a decent choice, and also should have some doubles fairly soon. I like Rodrigo. Is he my favourite option? No, but he's quite up there, maybe in the top 5 or 6 in terms of midfielders at that price and below. Arsenal don't have a double in 21. They have a double in 23, just like Man City. Mount to Anthony? No, I wouldn't go for Anthony personally. I know he scored a great goal the other day, but I just don't really see it with him. Like I said, Rashford's the only one I'd go to from Man United attackers. So let me now show you. Obviously, you can see my transfer plans in the poll, and a lot could change. I'm going to try to make my transfers early because I have a feeling the website could crash just before the deadline. So I'm going to be a bit careful about that. But yeah, 40% of you have gone for Ivan Toney and KDB as part of a -4 hit for Salah and Mitrovic. I think that's what I'm going to do. I talked about this in my team selection video, and I was kind of put off Tony a little bit because we didn't get any updates until today, and Thomas Frank gave probably one of the worst things he could have said because it just made me really want to buy Tony. Guaranteed to start against Bournemouth, and then he's got 2 great fixtures afterwards, assuming he's not suspended. I honestly think Tony could be absolutely fantastic over the next 3 game weeks, but if not, I am probably going to go for KDB as a solitary transfer, in for Salah, or take a -4 and get a Man City defender. But I have to say, I'm not that convinced about Man City defenders in the long term. I think they will do well in Game Week 20, at least maybe 1 clean sheet, get 1 against Wolves, but beyond that, I'm just not so sure about their minutes. Ruben Dias will come back very soon, and actually, you could argue, against Man United and Spurs, where is the clean sheet going to come from? It's difficult to predict. I think Spurs is maybe the more likely clean sheet, but at the same time, Tottenham have done very well against City in recent years as well. Thoughts on Cancelo? I talked about him in my transfer tips. In most cases, I think he's a sell. I think he'll start 1 game in the double, and it's a bit tricky because if you sell him for another City defender, you might just get rid of Cancelo for, who starts 1 game for another City defender who starts 1 game himself. So it's very risky. But if you don't have Luke Shaw, I think Cancelo to Shaw is a no-brainer for me in the long term. Yeah, Tony and for Mitrovic, I think it's worth it for free, even for a -4. I'm probably going to do it. I'm definitely considering it for sure. Welcome, Cyril. Good to see you. Bench 1 from Bueno, Mitrovic, Almiron. It has to be Bueno. He would be the one I bench. Welcome, Karaki. Thoughts on North London Derby and Manchester Derby? That's a really tough question. Let me bring up. So my original prediction was 2-0 City, but I'm probably going to change that at this point. I think United have a good chance of getting something. I've actually gone for a 3-1 Spurs win. I know most of you will be like, what are you talking about? But Arsenal have struggled a lot in that stadium over the last few years, and I don't know, something about it doesn't seem quite right to me. I think Arsenal are the better team right now, but form goes out of the window in these derbies at times. And I think if Arsenal impose their game and they also remain composed, they can definitely win the game. There's no doubt about it. But I have a feeling that Spurs will get under their skin and a few other things could happen. So I think Spurs will win, and I think City will maybe just edge it. But honestly, both games could go either way. And it's not just about who's the better team, which in this case would be City and Arsenal. Start Rodrigo Martinelli. Probably Rodrigo, but I wouldn't want to bench Martinelli. White versus Andreas, who to start? I would probably bench Ben White. It's a really close call, though. Saka or Martial? I'd start Saka. Already took a -12. Now Darwin is out. Should I free hit to take away the hit? That's the thing, though. There is some value in the free hit. You're eliminating a -12, but at the same time, I think the free hit could be even more beneficial in a future double or blank. But I do understand that. You know, if you want to get rid of Darwin as well, you take a -16 overall. I think that's way too much in this double game week. And in that case, a free hit could be the way forward for you. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of massive hits or free hitting so early in the season. Welcome, Jay. Thank you very much for the shout out as well. Who has a higher ceiling this week? On current form, you have to say Mahrez, but I'm really impressed by KDB. Despite his blanks, I think he's been playing really well, creating a lot of chances. I think he's created 12 chances since the restart, which is absolutely insane, by the way. I think I'm going to go for KDB, but in terms of form, there's no doubt Mahrez is the one that's looking better. But my answer, I'd probably just lean towards KDB, based on how well he's been playing, in my opinion. Is Ben Mee a good option? I don't think he's bad, but I'm not a huge fan of Brentford defensively. I do like Raya. I think he's the best way to cover Brentford defensively, but at the same time, I don't see too many clean sheets for them. Ben Mee's got a bit of a threat from set pieces. I just rather go to a Bueno, or if you really want, you know, kind of nailed on defenders that you want to rotate week in, week out, you know, the kind of defenders you see on screen, with the exception of Cucurella, and instead I go for a City defender like an Ake or a Kanji, who in my opinion is the best City option in defence. Triple captain plan, I think it's to hold. I'm not going to play it right now, I think, and I might end up using it 23, although, you know, there's always going to be that risk about whether Haaland could be benched against Aston Villa, and also there could be better doubles in the future for City, and not only that, for Man United and Arsenal, who have some really good options in the midfield. We're getting quite a lot of repeat questions. I'm going to try to go through some different stuff. Is Walker going to start? I think he will. I can't guarantee you that, though. Tony or Martial? Ivan Tony for sure. Darwin to Martial? No, I wouldn't go to Martial. I'd rather go to Tony or Nketiah. Odegaard, Mitoma, Almiron or Rodrigo for Trossard? From those lot, I think Odegaard's the best option, then Almiron. Then it's really close because they're all good choices, but I think Odegaard and Almiron are the best. Sell Darwin to Tony this week or leave it and sell Cancelo and Darwin for Cher and Kane? I would sell Darwin to Tony. I would do that personally. Harry Kane has 4 yellows. Yes, he does. If he gets booked against Arsenal, he's suspended for the City game. I've already got him anyway, so I'm not going to sell Kane, of course. Best Darwin replacement? Ivan Tony. Captain Rashford or Haaland? I'm going for Haaland, so that's my answer. Answered that question already about Tony Martial. Thorson Fernandes as a punt this week, Dylan? Just haven't really seen it. You know, he's been playing well, but in terms of FPL prospects, he's not even on penalties. You know, bear in mind that when Rashford scored against Everton in the FA Cup, Fernandes was on the pitch and Rashford took the penalty. I wouldn't go for Fernandes right now. Even if he hauls this week and, you know, he could be a good single game week punt, or in this case, a double game week punt, I still don't like him beyond game week 20, and I think he's a transfer waiting to happen. Tony or Kane for Darwin? Good question. Really good question. I'd still say Kane. I think he's worth the extra millions. Kane, Haaland or Rashford for captain? I'm going for Haaland, then it's Kane, and then Rashford. That's the way I'd rank it. Happy New Year to you as well, Akram. Good to see you. Mitro, Salah, Cancelo for Kane, KDB and Stones, and -4. Not Stones. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Stones isn't going to play against Man United. He's ruled out by Pep Guardiola. So if you want to go for a City defender, I'd go for Akanji or Ake. I think they're the two best options, the most nailed on for the time being. The other options and other transfers look really good. Kane and KDB speak for themselves. Just bear in mind there is a risk of suspension with Harry Kane. I think I'm going to make my transfers now, by the way. I think I'm just not going to waste any time. So, yeah, -4 hit. My only problem with getting rid of Mitrovic for Tony is that I might want to get Mitrovic or another striker back in for Tony by game week 25 because Brentford could blank then. And also, I still have Cucurella and Kepa, who for me are the two weak links in my team. That's the only thing that puts me off. But then I look at the defenders I can get for Cucurella. I don't see as much of an upside, even in City defenders, compared to Ivan Toney up front. So that's kind of the only problem I have with my transfers. But yeah, I think I'm going to take a -4 hit this week. Kevin De Bruyne in for Salah. Then it's either a City defender for Cucurella or I get Tony in for Mitrovic. I think that's the way I'm going to go about it. And I might confirm my transfers very soon. Still need to think about it a little bit more, maybe. I'm not going to triple captain, I think. There's still a chance. I'm not going to completely rule it out. But right now, probably not. And I've said this all week. Keep Salah or change to KDB. I'm probably changing to KDB. He's got a double now. Double in 23. And so far, there is no double for Liverpool in 21, so I think it's worth it for the extra fixtures, and I'm also very impressed by how KDB's playing. I would argue, especially since game week 18, you could say, I think KDB's been far better than Salah. Hi Dylan, do we know when Tony's hearing is? It's already happened, I think, on the 4th of January, but in terms of, the findings of the investigation and the punishment being dished out, we just don't know when that's going to happen. We honestly don't know. Should I start Ben White or Bueno over Stones? Well, that's a tough question. I think I'd go for Bueno, and that's really because I think Spurs will score. I'm convinced about it. Welcome, Alex. It's good to see you. No worries about that. Walker out for a -12. Probably not. I'd keep Walker. Would you take a -4 to sell Salah to KDB? I might do something similar. I think I would. I don't think you have to, though. I don't think, we have to get KDB in for Salah. But do I think it'll pay off over the next 3 game weeks? Yes, I think the hit pays off. In terms of double game week 21 odds, I'm not so sure, but let's go to Ben Crellin. This is what he said earlier today. A double game week in 21 is looking very unlikely now. He's not completely ruling out, by the way. He says it in future tweets. Check out his page and you can see everything he says in detail. But according to him, and he obviously gets a lot of this stuff right, he does a lot of research, he knows his stuff. According to him, the double in 21 is very unlikely following the FA Cup and the kind of TV schedule that they have confirmed today. So that's just something else to think about. And just for those of you that aren't aware, Ivan Toney is fit and available and will start tomorrow, confirmed by Thomas Frank. And not only that, John Stones is ruled out of the Manchester derby, so he's only got a single game week at most. Let's see if he's even fit enough in time to face Spurs at home later in the week. But yeah, those are the big news that we wanted to cover. And this is the prices as well. Rashford is just going to go up in price. Look at that. Over 258%. I mean, I'd be very surprised if that didn't happen. You've got Shaw, Kane, De Bruyne, Mahrez, Ben Mee, Rodrigo, and De Gea also joining the club. You've got a few as well on the precipice like Almiron, even Watkins, which is quite surprising to see. Erling Haaland, as always, on the brink. In terms of those going down, not many surprises. Tony, wow, that would be a big surprise. I think that could change. So I think he'll go down in price today, and then afterwards he could be on course to going up in price, especially if he hauls tomorrow against Bournemouth. Trossard, Cancelo, Aubameyang, and you've got a few other picks like Gabriel about to go down, Phil Foden. I'm interested to see where Salah is. I would think that maybe he's on course. Yeah, he's not too far off a price fall as well. So check out FPL on Fantasy Football Hub. And predicted points, you've got Erling Haaland in first position, De Bruyne second, Harry Kane third, Mahrez fourth, and Son fifth. I would put Kane above De Bruyne, but I have to say De Bruyne is a really good option this week. And I think maybe his blanks have been a blessing for non-owners because it puts people off from buying him. And honestly, I could see him hauling in the next few weeks, maybe a few times actually. He's been playing really well. A bit unlucky not to get those hauls. Martial's still quite high up on this. I think Rashford has to be higher than him, so I do disagree with them being kind of joint on this. But yeah, as you can see, the algorithm does favour Man City, then the likes of Spurs assets, predominantly in attacking positions, and then Manchester United with the doubles in mind. So be sure to check all of that out. We've covered all of this. And one other thing I want to talk about, it's going to be a really popular discussion this week. It will be this comparison between De Bruyne and Salah. And I still think it's really close between the two, 50-50. But with the two doubles for Man City over the next 3 game weeks, or 4 game weeks, you could argue, I'd probably go for De Bruyne, and I think I would even take a hit to go from Salah to De Bruyne, but it's really just for those doubles, and there could be the possibility still of Liverpool doubling in 21, so you can get De Bruyne in now, then get Salah back in for 21, and then get De Bruyne back in time for Game Week 23, so that's something else you also need to weigh up. Salah's fixtures aren't too bad in my opinion, despite them being second bottom, I think it was in the fixture ticker. You know, Chelsea right now is a good fixture, Wolves away isn't that bad, Brighton, kind of mixed bag, but it's really my concerns about Liverpool and also the lack of doubles. That is why I'm probably going to go off Salah and go to De Bruyne. And I've already made some points from that decision going for Salah in the first place with that haul against Villa. And now I think I'm going to move on to Kevin De Bruyne. Mahrez is still in the consideration, but I think I'm going to go for the Belgian instead. Let's now go back to my team. I'm going to be confirming my transfers very soon. Like I said, I don't really want to keep Cucurella and Kepa. For some reason, what the hell is happening right now? Sorry, I know it sounds really weird for me to kind of stop mid-sentence, but literally I got the sign as if the stream was going to cut, and it brings back some painful memories. So just to answer your question, wait, for some reason this hasn't even... Let's see if this works now. So apologies for that. For some reason my chat actually bugged out, so I actually highlighted Marco's question and it wasn't doing it. So one second, let me try find it. Yeah, here we go. Should work now. So apologies for that. I'm not sure why that happened. So Marcus says Cancelo to Lewis, Ake, Akanji, Shaw. I would rank it Shaw first, Akanji second, Ake third, and Lewis fourth. Share or Botman? Botman, because he's 4.5 million. Share is around 5. Unless you have a lot of value tied up in Share, I'd rather go for Botman. Who to start, Martinelli or Almiron? I'd go for Almiron this week. You can see it on screen, I'm captaining Haaland, nothing special. I was heavily considering Kane, but that yellow card risk just puts me off. Your opinion on Son? He's just not really a viable FPL option right now. I think he could do well against Arsenal and City, but would I want him beyond Game Week 20? Not really. He has maybe improved since Game Week 17 compared to the first half of the season, but still not enough for me to really recommend him. He's not worth the money. What should I do with Walker? I think I answered your question earlier. I would keep him because I think you were talking about taking a hit for him, getting rid of him. I just wouldn't do that. Tony or Kane? Harry Kane still. Should I start Ben White or Bueno over Stones? No, I'd start Stones still. Welcome, Genius Gamer. Good to see you. Cancelo replacement. Already have Shaw, Trippier, White. I would go for a Man City defender or Botman. And my preference would be Botman in the long term, so I'd go for him. Start Buendia or Mitrovic? I'd still go for Mitrovic, but Buendia has been decent in recent weeks. Bueno to Ake, Akanji or Kepa to Edison? That's a good question. What I like about Edison is that he doesn't blank in 25, so you don't need to play Ward against Arsenal away. I'd probably do Bueno though. Bueno to Akanji. The problem is, you know Edison's going to start. You don't know that about those City defenders. So there's a lot of kind of ifs and buts there. I'd probably go for the City defender though, because I think Kepa is still not the worst option, and he's still a good goalkeeper option at that price. Yeah, Triple Captain Haaland is a good idea, and the main appeal for him is expected minutes. I'm not so sure if Haaland will have another double game week later this season where he'll be guaranteed pretty much to start both games and get 180 minutes. So that would be the big plus, but the fixtures are poor. City are kind of mixed bag in terms of their recent form, and Haaland himself hasn't been particularly great, or at least clinical. He's been getting chances, but hasn't been burying as many. Tony for Mitrovic or Martial? Oh, I'd definitely keep Mitrovic and sell Martial, despite the double. Sell Mitro to buy Tony? I'm looking to do it myself. I think it's worth it. Don't get me wrong, I think Mitro is still a great choice, but I think Tony's even better, especially over the next 3. No news. I think for the time being, he could get away with it for now. And if there is maybe a suspension, it could be later this season or after the season has concluded. We just don't know. But for now, he's in the clear and he's worth getting in. Of course, if you bring him in for a -4, he plays against Bournemouth, then he's suspended. That won't be ideal, and it could happen. But if you're asking me, I think you'll get over the next 3 game weeks unscathed, and he could do really well in that time frame. Eriksen's an FPL option? No chance. I saw a question about Martial starting. He's not playing. Ten Hag, kind of ruled him out today. The same goes for Diogo Dalot. So just to kind of correct myself, so he ruled out Diogo Dalot. With Martial, he said that he's been training, but he's still a bit of a doubt heading into the game. So he's not completely ruled out. That's a mistake on my part. But Diogo Dalot is completely ruled out. There's a reason why he's flagged. Are you going to keep an eye on Isak? Not really. I'd rather go for Tony, Mitrovic, Nketiah, not to mention Kane and Haaland. I think there are better forwards elsewhere. Isak was doing all right before his injury, but I don't think I'd go for him. You've also got Wilson to worry about, so no. Is Tony a bang-on transfer? I think so. In terms of my case, am I definitely get him in? No, not definitely, but I'm heavily considering it. And if you are trusting me right now, it's very likely. Rashford or Mahrez? Oh, definitely Rashford still. Rashford is the better option long term. He's nailed on. Could be on penalties as well. There's a lot to like with Rashford. What do you think about Mitoma? His price and below, I discussed this in the best free hit team video. I think he's the best option right now. Against Liverpool, I could see him doing well. I would even start him this week in most cases. So yeah, I think Mitoma's great. Also, McAllister from Brighton and March. They're all good choices. I think McAllister could secretly be maybe the best of the lot, but right now Mitoma looks the most appealing. Bueno or Saliba? Probably Bueno. Start 2, Leicester over White and Andreas. Start 2, Leicester. It depends which Leicester assets these are. You know, if it's Maddison or something like that, well, the thing is, he's still red, isn't he? It depends which players these are, the Leicester players. Cancelo, Ake, Almiron, Rashford, and Mitrovic, Tony for a -8. It's close because Almiron and Mitrovic are still really good choices. Mitrovic to Tony I would do. Almiron out for Rashford. If you could find another way to do that and get Rashford in, I'd definitely do it because I think Rashford is the better pick right now, but I also like Almiron still. Overall, is the transfers worth it? Are the hits worth it? Yes, they are. But I also like Almiron and Mitrovic, especially Almiron. Rodrigo against Villa over City midfielder, good idea. I still prefer City midfielders like De Bruyne and Mahrez. Apart from them, I think Rodrigo's better than Grealish, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, and all the other options like Foden. -4 to bring Kane over Havertz? Yeah, I will do it. Even with the yellow card suspension risk, I would go ahead with it. Yeah, Kulusevski is clear to play. He's going to start against Arsenal. Conte talked about this. There's no surprise, really. You know, he's been injured for a few weeks. He's had time to recover. The only doubts for Spurs are Richarlison and Bentancur. Kepa or Ward? I'm going for Kepa. Almiron or Odegaard? For this week, Almiron. Long term, I would argue Odegaard. Best City defender? In my opinion, it's Akanji, closely followed by Ake. Trippier, Shaw, Gabriel, Ake, bench 1. Gabriel. Has to be Gabriel from those lot. Saka news is yellow flagged. We discussed him earlier. So Arteta said he should be fine, but let's wait and see. He picked up a small knock, I think, against Oxford. I wouldn't be too worried, but of course, there's a chance he misses out. In my opinion, he's fine. He'll start. And yeah, I'd be very surprised, you know, if he were to miss out completely. Thoughts Cucurella? He's awful. I'd look to sell him as soon as possible. The problem is, who do you replace him with? If you've already got White, Shaw, Botman, and also all these other options like Trippier, then it becomes a bit tricky because the rest of the defenders don't look that great. But in terms of this, let me end this poll, by the way. Thank you very much to everyone who voted. I very much appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with OBS or something. I'm not sure if there's like some kind of mixed signs here, but it basically keeps telling me that the stream's ending, and that's not the case. I'm not sure what's happening there. Dylan, if you put a Man City midfielder defender in, remember you will probably keep them till Game Week 26. Yeah, I know. That's why I have been appealed by the likes of Akanji over the last week. But I'm also a bit unsure about, is he going to start every single game until Game Week 26? Not really. The good thing is that I have the depth to kind of cover for that. And, you know, you make a good point there. They don't blank in 25 either, playing against Bournemouth. But still, I have some doubts. And in terms of midfielders, I'm definitely getting De Bruyne or Mahrez in. There's no doubt about that. The question is, do I go for a triple up with a defender? And I think Tony, with the upside in the next 3 games, could absolutely blow the competition out of the water, even Mitrovic. Castagno or Odegaard? I'd go for Odegaard out of those two. Start Ben White or Martial? I'd go for Martial. Botman or Almiron? I would go for Almiron. Try not to spam the chat, otherwise you'll be kind of timed out like you were there. Bench 1, Almiron, Fernandes, Rashford, Mitoma, Mount. Wow, that's a tough question. I'd probably bench Mason Mount. It's between him and Mitoma, and I think I'd bench Mason Mount. Tell me one midfielder I could buy. Let me just try to get up again. Like I said, the chat's been all over the place today. I have 12.1 million. I already have Rashford, Martinelli, and Almiron. 12.1 million. I'd say Mahrez is a good option. This is really weird, by the way. I'm not sure if the internet is completely all over the place, but Yeah, I honestly have no idea. Let me know if there's any lag, if there's any drop frames, if the kind of stream cuts out. I'd be interested to see because I have no idea right now. Bench Martial or Martinelli? I would bench I'd bench Martinelli. I think from those two. When are you thinking to play your triple captain if not this week? Good question. Probably not 23, although it's a consideration. I'd say later in the season for another double. Kane, Martial, Mitoma, or Tony, Mitrovic, and Mahrez? Good question. I would say Tony, Mitrovic, and Mahrez is the better trio. Really close call, though. Yeah, we're saying, yeah, in my case, it's kind of showing up as laggy as well. I'm not sure what the problem is right now. Yeah, it kind of says that it's fine on 1 second, and then the next it says that it's dropping frames. I think it's just the internet that's kind of bugging out right now. So be right back for a second. I'll be close very soon. Yeah, Martial is injured, but he should be fine for the second game, or at least he has a chance to be on the bench against City, and then for the second game, he could even feature. But I'll be right back. I'll see if I can solve these problems, and in the meantime, you can see the fixture ticker for all these clubs, which we discussed before, but you can see them once again. So I'll be right back. Here we are back. I honestly, apologies for the lag. I'm not sure what the problem is. I think it might just be the cable or something. I will try to make sure it doesn't happen again. You know, most of the streams recently that haven't cut out, you know, have been completely smooth, no drop frames whatsoever. But yeah, it is a bit frustrating. Let's go back to your questions. Let me know, by the way, if, you know, there is any more lag or anything. Is Trent an F? Well, I mean, I wouldn't go for him. I would look to... if I had him, I'd probably sell. If I didn't have him, I wouldn't go anywhere near. Thank you, Rock and Rye. Appreciate it. Cancelo, White, Andreas, start one. Start one. It has to be Cancelo from those. Stones, Akanji, Ake, or Cancelo. I discussed this before. For me, it would be Akanji first, then Ake. I think Cancelo starts one of the two. Stones will start one of the two maximum because he's definitely ruled out against Man United. Is Saka injury serious? No, I don't think it is. I have Martial since Game Week 17. Should I replace him to Kane? Yes. And honestly, Martial he's been a very poor asset anyway. Hey, Dylan, Kane and McAllister, Mitoma, or Tony and Mahrez? Kane and... That's a really close call, by the way. I like the duos. I think Tony and Mahrez is a better duo, though. At least for Game Week 20. I'd probably go for that. Start Castagna and Amati over White and Andreas. That's okay. They face Nottingham. Yes, they play Nottingham Forest. Yeah, I have no problem starting Castagna, but a double up in Leicester defence, I'm not so sure. And I actually think Leicester will lose that against Nottingham Forest. So the fixture looks great on paper, but Leicester have been very poor as well. Will Mahrez start? I think so. Need to take out Cancelo to have Kane for a -8. Worth it? Let's see. Is the message still popping up? Yeah, it is. So yeah, I think it's worth the -8. Try not to spam the chat though. Is KDB a must? I have Salah, but I don't want to go for a -4. He's not a must. He's not a complete must, but I think he's one of the best options this week, and he also has a double in 23, and that's why I'm going for him. Martinelli or Rodrigo? I think Martinelli's still the better option overall, but for this week, Rodrigo. Chelsea, Porto, I'm finding ways to get rid of Kepa. Yeah, that's fair enough. The thing is, though, which goalkeepers do you go to? I think Nick Pope's the best goalkeeper in the game, but then I've already got a triple up in Newcastle. David De Gea is decent, and you've also got Edison, but... There's not really too many standouts, you could say. I like Raya as well, to be fair, but I'm probably going to keep Kepa for now. The one I really want to sell is Cucurella. KDB or Kane? Harry Kane for me. The only problem is the yellow card risk, but I think he's the best premium besides Haaland. Best fixture run, best game week for wildcard. Best fixture run, I'd say for the next 3 game weeks, Brentford. And we discussed the fixture ticker. We showed it just now, if you kind of rewind a little bit. In terms of, let's see, the other question, best game week for wildcard, there's no clear-cut answer for that. It will all depend on future double game weeks and blanks. We discussed this already. Akanji for me is slightly better, but it could go either way. They're the two best for sure. I said Akanji last week, I'll stick with it, but Ake's been really good recently too. So if you go for him, no problems with that whatsoever. Saka or Nunez or Cancelo or what? Or sell one of them. Who to sell from those three? Nunez. I'd keep Saka. I think he'll be fine. Best 5 to 4.5 million forward to fund came. It'd be Ferguson, then Greenwood. Cancelo to Ake and Mitrovic to Tony for a -4. Yes, I would probably do it. I think Mitrovic is good, by the way. I still think he's good, but for me, Tony's even better. Perisic or Doherty, Perisic. Botman and Trippier this week. I'm going for it. I'm quite happy with it. Cancelo can play the 2 matches, right? He can play the 2 matches, but just look what's happened since the restart. He's only started in the Carabao Cup, and I think he's started in the FA Cup as well. But in the Premier League, only 1 start. It's been on and off. I think he starts 1. He doesn't start both. That's my personal opinion there. I think Lewis could start instead. Rashford in for Almiron, Odegaard or Martinelli? Probably for Martinelli. The thing is, for this week, I think Almiron's the best of the 3, but long term, you could argue Odegaard and Martinelli are better options than Almiron. But I would keep Almiron and Odegaard and probably sell Martinelli and go against the kind of effective ownership. He's the most owned, obviously, of the 3. Yep, like I said, I think he starts 1, but not both. Andreas White or Cucurella, who to start? I might even go for Cucurella there. You can see my bench order. My problem is doubling up on Chelsea defence with how poor they've been. Luckily for them, they're facing a really poor Crystal Palace team as well. Andreas or Gross? I'd actually say Gross this week. I think he has a better chance of a haul against Liverpool. -12 hit now. Martial isn't playing. Should I take a hit to get him out for... Get him out? It depends who you get rid of him for. If it's for Tony, Harry Kane, then I think it's worth the hit. Otherwise, maybe just hold off and keep Martial. Martial isn't completely ruled out, by the way. Bear that in mind. I think he won't start against City, but he has a chance of starting against Palace. Kepa or Ward, you can see the answer on screen because I've gone for Kepa. Tony start, he's definitely going to start, and that's what really appeals me about him. Cancelo to Ake for a hit. That's the thing. I'm not so sure if I would do that for a hit. I'll be honest. Play Ferguson or Andreas this week? Probably Ferguson. Tony playing? Yes, we discussed it just now, and you can also rewind the stream. We put it on screen. Does Mara start twice, do you think? Yes, I think he does. I can't guarantee you that, but I think he starts both. Considering any January signing, I'm not so sure because, you know, I can't tell you about who's... There's a lot of rumours right now. Not all of them will be confirmed transfers, and, you know, let's wait for the players to sign first. In terms of those that have signed already, you know, there's no one that really appeals to me apart from maybe Gakpo, but right now I wouldn't go for him. Mudryk could be good for Arsenal if he signs, but it's all hypothetical, so I'm not so sure. So bench Andreas or White? Once again, in terms of my bench, I got Andreas over White in terms of the first, second, and third. In terms of the order, I'd probably favour Andreas over White. I don't see Arsenal keeping a clean sheet against Spurs. Is Saka injury serious? No, it isn't. Kane and Tony for a -4. Yeah, I think it's worth a hit. If Man United get a double game week, should I triple captain him? Well, Man United have a double game week this week. It's already confirmed, Manish. They face Crystal Palace and Man City. In terms of triple captaining a player, it'd only be Rashford, if that's who you're on about. Man United could have a double in 22. You know, there's still a few doubles. United have plenty of doubles still to reschedule, but yeah, they have a double this week. Best, sure what's happening to the internet today. I don't want to touch anything because it could just completely kill the stream for good. But yeah, it's been very strange to say the least. Who to get in, Botman or Share? I think you asked this already, mate. Botman. I'll probably answer it for the last time. So Bueno is better than Gabriel. For this week, yes, I think so. Salah to KDB for free? Yes. For free, definitely. For a -4, I'd be a bit more reluctant, but I'd probably still do it. Nunez to Kane -8? Yes, I think it's worth it. Mount and Cucurella out for Zaha and Shaw or Antony and Perisic? I don't like Zaha, I'll be honest. Go for Shaw. Don't go for Zaha. I honestly wouldn't go for him. Would you take a -8? Depends which players are involved in the -8. Vestergaard to Ake, De Silva to Rashford, and Darwin to Greenwood -4. Looks fine to me. I'd go for it. If I downgrade Cancelo to Shaw, I wouldn't have enough funds to make Andreas to Mara's move. Who should I upgrade then? Andreas, Bueno, and Greenwood there. 2.7 million in the bank. Unfortunately, you can't do Greenwood to Tony. Otherwise, I'd just do that in a flash. Yeah, it's kind of a tricky one. I'm not sure which players you have, though, Wei Seng. I think you put your team on the Discord server, but I can't remember it off by heart. So it's kind of a tough one. if you've already got like 3 or 4 solid defenders, I don't think you need to upgrade Bueno necessarily. So I just look at Andreas or Grima to upgrade, and then it just depends. Grima to Mitrovic is fine. Nketiah is also good, but the ideal one would be Tony there in for Greenwood. Yeah, Saka will start. Like I said, I'd be very surprised if he didn't. Best Brighton asset considering Trossard issue. Mitoma or McAllister would be my favourites. March has been good. He's been the best recently, but for me, Mitoma, McAllister. McAllister should be on penalties as well. Bear that in mind. What about bringing Bruno for Salah? No, I'd rather keep Salah. Cancelo to Ake for a hit or Cucurella to Doherty for a -4. Cancelo to Ake is the one I'd go for. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of that because the City defender you bring in could easily start one game just like Cancelo, so it's kind of pointless. But it's so difficult to call. I'm not a huge fan of City defenders, I'll be honest, but yeah, I'd probably, it's not the worst transfer in the world, let's say. Your preference, Dean to Shaw for free or Darwin Mitrovic to Kane Ferguson for a -4? That's a good question. It would be Darwin to Kane for a -4. And if that involves Mitrovic in for Ferguson as well, so be it. Also consider Tony as well, if you have the funds instead of Mitro. Greetings, John. Good to see you once again. I think I'm set on Cancelo to Botman for my free transfer. Yeah, that looks fine. Do I take a hit for Foden or Martial out? Well, I don't think Martial starts against City. I also don't think Foden starts both games, maybe one maximum. So I'd probably take a hit. Maybe Martial out for Tony, for example. When is the best timing to sell Perisic? Best timing to sell Perisic. So I'll just quickly check Spurs' fixtures again. So the best time to sell him, even 21. I know they're facing Fulham. It's marked as green on the FDR. Probably after the double game week, that's when I'd sell Perisic. He's not a bad option, but I just don't think he's worth the money. Will Cancelo play? I think he starts one of the two. I can't tell you if he's going to start or not against United. If he doesn't start against United, he could start against Spurs or vice versa. I don't see him starting both, though. Best Spurs defender to bring in for a hit. It's obviously Perisic or Doherty, and I'd say Perisic is first, but really close call. Force and triple captaincy. It's nothing different to what I said all week. So in terms of this week, what I like about Haaland is that he's got more expected minutes. I would expect him to start both games and play all the minutes available. But he's also facing 2 informed teams, or at least in United, really informed teams. Spurs showed what they're capable of against Crystal Palace. But at the same time, they're tough games for City. And City aren't in the best form themselves. Haaland has been missing chances. And I think there will be better stages this season to triple captain him potentially. But it all depends on how they do in the FA Cup. If they don't reach the quarterfinals or semi-finals, and neither do the likes of Brighton and West Ham, then they won't have another double game week after game week 23. And then you would have to look elsewhere for the triple captaincy. Foden to Mahrez or KDB? I'd say KDB, but it's a really close call. In terms of form, Mahrez is the one, but I think Kevin De Bruyne has been very unlucky not to get returns. Do you think Stones may start both games? We covered this already, mate. So Stones won't start against United. He's completely ruled out. He might start against Tottenham, but I can't tell you that for sure. It's going to be a race against time. My prediction is he will be available for that, but he obviously won't play against United. So one start. Ake or Lewis? I'd go for Ake. Should I go with my gut feeling and not Captain Haaland and Captain Rashford? Yes, always go for your gut feeling. If you think Rashford scores more points, then why just go for Haaland? The main explanation would be effective ownership, and you want to just go with the pack and not take a big risk. But honestly, I think Rashford has a great chance of hauls this week. I think Haaland will do better. That's why I'm going for him, but not a bad pick. I think Rashford is probably 3rd or 4th in terms of the best captaincy options this week. March or Mitoma? Mitoma, Cancelo, Mount, Greenwood to Kanji, Odegaard, Tony for -8. Yes, I would do it. Not sure about bringing in Odegaard this week, though, against Tottenham. Saka or Castagna? I'd go for Saka. Start Cucurella or Andreas? I would go for Cucurella. What else do we have? Let's see. Almiron or Martinelli? Almiron this week. Long-term Martinelli. How about Burn versus Botman? I still prefer Botman, but Burn's not a bad choice as well. Let's see. What else do we have here? Yeah, I'm not sure if I can see your other question. Or Darwin, Cancelo, Salah to Kane, KDB, Ake for -8. I mean, those transfers look good, but I'm not sure what the alternative was. So, yeah. Start Trippier or Botman? Always start Trippier. He's got so many different avenues of getting points over Botman. So, It's just a case of doubling up on Newcastle defence sometimes with Botman rather than going for Botman over Trippier. Thank you, Gordon. I appreciate the shout out. As he says, if you haven't already, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. It really helps out the channel. Like I said, I'm not sure what's been happening with the internet today, but hopefully it doesn't happen again. But yeah, sometimes these things happen. Best Man City defender, Akanji, then Ake for me. Both are really good in terms of the City options anyway. Get Odegaard player of the month. Okay, stop trying to jinx Arsenal for 1 second. That would be appreciated. Is Martial injured? He's a risk. He's a doubt to start against City, but he has been in training. So my prediction is he'll be on the bench against City and start against Palace. Let's wait and see. Goalkeeper for this double game week, De Gea, Ederson or Lloris. De Gea for me from those three. Who to bench? Odegaard, Martinelli, Shaw, White. It would be White. I think Arsenal could score, maybe a few goals, but I don't see them keeping a clean sheet, to be fair. Darwin and Martial definitely out. Darwin, it looks like he's definitely out against Brighton. Martial, no, he's not definitely out. Start Bueno or Mitrovic? Mitrovic, I'd start him still. Tony or Saka of Martinelli? Tony. To be fair, though, with Saka, I think he'll start against Spurs, and if anything, I'd start Saka over Martinelli. I don't see Saka being on the bench and then come. Let's see what else. Yeah, the only reason I know that playing Perot over Mount now, no. I still would probably go for Mount. I don't think they're both. Both of them aren't good options in my opinion, but I'd still go for Mount. I think it's up to you though. It's not the worst decision in the world. It's not like you're starting Perot over one of the best midfielders in the league. You're starting him over Mount, who's been pretty poor recently. Thoughts on Doherty? If you want a Spurs defender, he's not a bad choice. He's also quite cheap, but I don't see Spurs keeping a clean sheet in the double. Wildcard team, Ederson, Wood, Shaw, Trippier, White, Bueno, Botman, Garnacho, KDB, Rashford, Almiron, Martinelli, Kane, Haaland, Tony. I wouldn't go for Garnacho. I think Matoma, Andreas Pereira, better choices. Even March. But the rest looks fine. I like the rest, but I would reconsider Garnacho, to be fair. Why is no one talking about Arsenal if they're top of the league? It's probably because they're facing Tottenham and all these teams like C have a double. Benching Martial or Willian? I'd bench Willian. Darwin to Kane or Tony? Kane, like I said before. What happened to Saka? He got a knock against Oxford. He's fine. I wouldn't be concerned. Is Walker a sell and who to? I'd probably keep Walker. It's kind of a tricky one because do I expect him to start both? Maybe not. But then again, you could say that about any City defender. You can bring in Ake, then he only starts one. My prediction in terms of City defenders is that Ake and Akanji will start both, but honestly, I could be wrong about that, and it could backfire. So that could be my answer there. Bench Botman or Cancelo? I would bench... that's a really close one. I'd probably bench Cancelo. Any news on Tony's betting troubles? No news about that. So, it's risky if you bring him in, but my prediction is that he'll be fine for the next three, and he'll start all of them. Cucurella or Solanke? Probably Cucurella. Reluctantly. Here's the full question. Darwin, Cancelo to Kane, Rico Lewis from -4, or Darwin, Cancelo, Salah to Kane, KDB, Ake for a -8. I would go for the -8 option there. It's a close call, but I'd go for the -8. Foden to Mahrez or Foden to Mahrez and Mitrovic to Tony for a -4. I would take the -4, I guess, yeah. You don't have to, though. Odegaard or Rodrigo? Odegaard long-term, Rodrigo this week. Sell Cucurella for a -4, and to who? I would sell him for a -4. Luke Shaw would probably be the one that I'd mainly look towards. You've also got Botman, Trippier. Ben White in the long term, I wouldn't take a hit for him this week, though. So, yeah, it's all about timing. If you were to go for a City defender, Akanji or Ake, like we talked about. Start Raya or Ward, I'd go for Raya. Thoughts on Cucurella to Ake and Darwin to Tony for a -4? Yeah, I'd go for it. Do you think Lewis is wasting a City spot? I don't think it's wasting a City spot, but I would rather have Ederson in goal, Ake or Akanji, who I think will start more games, De Bruyne, Mahrez, and Haaland. But he's not a bad choice. He's cheap. The good thing about him is that if he doesn't start, he shouldn't come on for a one-pointer. So there is a lot to like about him, but I think there are better choices. Foden or KDB? I think you know the answer to that. KDB all day long. Bueno or me? Me. Especially this week. Mitoma or McAllister? I would actually go for McAllister because he's on penalties, playing a more advanced role, but both of them are really good, and Mitoma's been very impressive. Whenever he's gotten starts, he's proven his worth, and even off the bench, he's looked really lively. Thoughts on Wan-Bissaka? Yeah, he's good whilst Dallow's injured, but when Dallow comes back, I think Wan-Bissaka loses a spot eventually. So he's all right for the double. He could start both as well, but not so sure. Yeah, I think I will sell Salah for KDB, and then it's just a question of a -4 to get Tony or a Man City defender. I think, yeah, like Pep said, he's just joking. It's not going to be anything kind of completely, it's going to be a Pep Guardiola side, a Pep Guardiola lineup. It's not going to be anything that would completely shock us. Kane, a definite pick because of yellow card chance. Yeah, despite that, I still think it's a great captaincy option, but that is enough to put me off, I think. Bench 1, Saka versus Mitrovic and Mitoma. Probably Mitoma reluctantly. It's a really close call, though. Really close. Yeah, we covered this already. This is probably the last time I'll go for it because I don't want to repeat myself. I would go for a Kanji. Both are fine, though. Worth a -8 this week. Depends on the players, but yeah, I would even consider it myself. I'm probably sticking to a -4, though. Bench 1, Botman, Almiron, or Odegaard. I would bench Odegaard. What do you think about Eriksen? Not an FPL option for me. Darwin and Mitrovic to Tony and Wilson for a -4. I'm not a huge fan of Wilson. I think he's injury prone. You've got Isak knocking on the door. Tony, yes, I'd go for it. You know what I do? I do Darwin to Tony for free, and that's it, and keep Mitrovic. I think Mitrovic is better than Mitrovic is better than Wilson long term. Thank you for the super chat, Marius. Play Dean or sell for me, Pennock, Botman, -4. The thing is, selling for a -4, that puts me off. Long term, I think the hit pays off with Botman, but also bear in mind there could be a blank very soon for Newcastle, so I'd probably play Dean. If you were to sell, it would be for Botman, who I think is the best defender long-term from everyone you mentioned. Thank you, Zach. I appreciate it as well. Bench Mitrovic or White? I would bench White, for sure. Mount or Martinelli? Martinelli. Kepa for the Gea, -4. I have considered it, but I'd probably say no. I still think Chelsea can keep a clean sheet against Palace, which might sound crazy. Mitoma, Martial, or Kulusevski and Mbumo? Mitoma, Martial. Not a huge fan of Martial, but with Mbumo, I think the main appeal would have been if Tony was out. Thoughts on Felix red card? I mean, according to the rules, it is a red card. I don't think you can have too many complaints, but it's all going wrong for Chelsea at the moment, isn't it? Thoughts on Bamford? No, I wouldn't go near him. Once again, you go Nketiah, Tony, Mitrovic, Kane, Haaland. I think they're all really good choices up front, and they're going to be better than him. Even Wilson I'd put above Bamford, who's far too injury prone right now anyway. Robertson or Ben White this week? Probably Robertson. Darwin and Martial available. I have both, but won't sell anyone. Well, with Darwin, I mean, most reports indicate that he will miss out against Brighton this weekend. I would sell Darwin and keep Martial from those. Kepa or Ward, you can see the answer on screen. I've gone for Kepa. So yeah, I'm not going to tell you something else. De Bruyne or Mahrez? I'm going to go for De Bruyne, but Mahrez obviously has the better FPL form. He's been on fire, really, even in the FA Cup. But I think De Bruyne's got some really good performances in him since the restart. Very unlucky not to get assists, and I could see him doing really well over the next 3 or 4 game weeks. Salah to De Bruyne, -8. Would I take a hit from Salah to De Bruyne? Yes, I would, with the extra games coming up. Stones is missing out against Manchester United, so just go for Ake, I think. Who for James? Botman, Shaw, Ake? I'd go for Shaw. Then it'd be Botman, then Ake. Keep Cancelo as a differential. Look, this is the thing with Cancelo. Transferring out could be defenders. I think the only ones that could start both. Who to go to? Apart from Rashford, Odegaard, I think is a good choice. I think he's around the same price as Rashford, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, Rashford, Martinelli, Almiron. Just depends who you have or don't have already. I'm not sure what your team situation is. Start Robertson or Mitoma. I'd go for Mitoma. I'd back Brighton offensively over Liverpool defensively. I have already taken a -4. Yeah, that's the thing. There's a lot of things you're going to be sacrificing, and Kane could be suspended for the City game anyway, Marco. In that case, if it involves a -4 hit, Marco, or a -8, I wouldn't do it. I would just stick with Kulusevski and Shaw. But, you know, if the Kane thing is for free, for example, then yeah, I'd probably take a punt and do it. Welcome, Sophia. I'm doing well. What about you? Just unfortunately having some internet problems, it looks like. I think the stream is kind of cutting in and out, which, You know, it hasn't really happened. Basically, what normally happens in the streams is it either goes really smoothly or it just completely cuts out and there's no chance of a restart and it ends. But right now it's kind of fluctuating, it looks like. And yeah, I think there are some problems. Akio or Kanji? I think you know my answer, Kanji, but both fine. Also answers Jenkins's question. Are you considering triple captain Haaland this week? Yes, I have considered it. Am I going to do it? Probably not. Is Lewis a good option? Yes, but I think there are better choices, even in the City defense, like Ake, Akanji. Is Walker a sell? Long term, yes, I think Walker is a sell. But then again, like I said before, you can easily get rid of him for another City defender, and they both get the same minutes. Or if not, the defender you bring in gets even less than Walker. You just never know with Pep. I'd probably sell him, though. Wildcard if you don't want to take hits. I wouldn't recommend a wildcard. If you can avoid it, don't use the wildcard just yet. I think you can gain so many points by using it later in the season. Odegaard, Botman, or Mitoma. Start two between them. Who to bench? It'd probably be Mitoma, but you could easily argue that Odegaard's the one to bench there. Shaw or Akanji? Sure. Any updates for Double Gameweek 21? No. No updates. Two to start from this three: Saka, Martinelli, Rodrigo. I would maybe consider benching Martinelli and starting Saka and Rodrigo. Yeah, North London Derby prediction. Like I said earlier, I originally went for 3-1 Spurs, so I'd probably stick with that. Saka or Martinelli? Saka. But this week, I prefer Saka. In the long term, because of how much cheaper Martinelli is, I do prefer him. And I think Odegaard's the best of the lot. But honestly, you can't go wrong with any of these Arsenal midfielders. I think they're all good choices. Thoughts on Ferguson? Like I said, if you are looking for a 4.5 million forward, Ferguson's the one. Then it would be Greenwood. Yeah, David, I did. So the one I would bench would be Martinelli, potentially. Rank Haaland, Son, Rashford, Kane in terms of captaincy order. Son would be last. It would be Haaland first, Kane second, Rashford third, and Son fourth. Darwin to Tony, Martial, or hold Darwin? Darwin to Tony. Thank you, Chile. Tony or Mitrovic? Tony. Salah, Cancelo, Mitrovic out for De Bruyne, short, and Kane for -8. Yes, I would do it. -8 for Rodrigo in and Andreas out and Mitrovic to bench. Not so sure about Rodrigo. I think he's decent this week and also has some good fixtures, but until they have doubles confirmed, I don't really see the need to go for him over Almiron, Martinelli, Odegaard, and a few others. So a bit unsure about that. But yeah, you could just start Mitrovic and avoid a hit, in my opinion. Kane or Tony for Martial? Kane. But Tony's still a really good value option. We all know that. Ward or Sanchez start? I'd start Ward. Mitrovic or Martinelli? Maybe Martinelli. Yes, Aditya, if you play a wildcard or free hit, you will eliminate the hits you've taken. City defender, which will play both, I can't guarantee anything. The most likely for me are Ake and Akanji. I can't tell you they'll start both for sure, because you never know with Pep. With 2 free transfers, could do Mitra plus Cancelo to Kane, 4.8 million or less defender like Martinez, or Mitra plus Cancelo plus Estupinian to White, or /White to Kane plus Shaw plus 4.4 million defender. I'd probably go for the Kane and 4.8 million defender option marker. But I don't really blame... I don't really mind the other options, should I say. Thank you, David. Start White or Bueno. I would probably go for Bueno. This week, Darwin Mount to Tony Mahrez -4. Yes, I'd go it. You know, I don't think there's any doubts about that. I have Martinelli and Odegaard. Who to transfer out for Almiron? If you were to get rid of one, it would be Martinelli, but just bear in mind it could easily backfire, and you'd probably want these Arsenal assets long term. No, Cancelo's not injured. He's just lost favour with Pep and also in the Portugal team, so it's just not really a coincidence at this point. Martial -4 for Tony. I'd take a -4 for Tony, personally. Any updates about Nunez? It looks like he's going to miss out against Brighton. I'm not sure if he's going to be out for 3 weeks, as it has been reported by some people, but it looks like he'll miss out against Brighton, and that means Gakpo or Salah could play up front. Who between Ake and Akanji? Once again, I think they're the two best options, the most nailed on, the most likely to start both games. I can't guarantee, they'll start both. For me, Akanji has been the most nailed since Game Week 9, and that's why I've said he's my favourite, along with Stones. I'd put Ake slowly or shortly after Akanji. Who should I start, Solanke or Andreas? Maybe Solanke. I don't need to get Kane in for Darwin Nunez, but need to take out Cancelo as well. But who for? Stones is not an option now. Who for? I'd say Ake or Akanji. And if I had to pick one, it'd be Akanji, as I've said all stream. So that would... Would you say Anthony differential? I wouldn't go for Anthony. Mahrez, yes, I would consider him. I know Anthony scored against Man City last time and also against Arsenal, but no, I wouldn't go for him. Obviously, with Arsenal, I'm mainly referring to Game Week 21. Nunez and Cancelo to Kane and Stones -4. Don't go for Stones. He's going to miss out against Man United. You're depriving yourself there of the double game week. There's no point of going for Stones. So, if anything, go for Akanji or Ake. Is -8 for a surgery to Freeman too risky? The risk is, you know, it can come in different ways. Going for Kane, who could be suspended for Man City and stuff like that. But I think a -8 is also justifiable. It depends on which players you're bringing out and the ones you're bringing in. But I think that looks good. Is Mbeumo a good option? He's not bad, but I would say with Tony coming back and starting against Bournemouth, I wouldn't go for him. Will Cancelo play considering a loss against Southampton? Like I said, I think he starts one of the double. He doesn't start both. Start Bueno over Mitrovic or not worth it? I would start Mitrovic out of those two. Is Garnacho a good differential? I just wouldn't go for him. You know, you've got Mitoma, McAllister, you've got Andreas Pereira. I don't think Garnacho's particularly the best option. You know, from United, you've got De Gea in goal, Lisandro Martinez, you've got Luke Shaw, more importantly, and Rashford, the two best the team have to offer. I wouldn't go for Garnacho. You're not scared about Kane's yellow card situation and Spurs' fixtures? Well, I'm not going to get rid of Kane, am I? I didn't bring him in now. I had him in Game Week 17. It was always going to be a bit of a risk, but yeah, in terms of yellow card, it's in the back of my mind. That's why I'm not captaining him. In terms of Spurs' fixtures, I don't really mind, to be fair. I think Kane could do well in all of them. Start Saka, Martinelli, or Cancelo? I would probably bench Martinelli from those, John, and start Saka and Cancelo. What hit would you consider wildcard? A -12 or -16, but honestly, I would try to hold off. Saka's fine, it's just a knock he has. Hi Dylan, will you triple captain? Probably not. Perisic, not a bad choice for Game Week 20. Do I like him particularly in the long term? No. Spurs have a pretty poor defense. Salah to KDB versus Salah to KDB plus Cancelo downgrade and Mitrovic to Kane. Yeah, I'd do the latter, Sing. They're all good options, but I'd go for the latter and take the -8. In essence, is Shaw worth 4 points over Martinez Botman? I think so. In the long term, I think Shaw pays off, assuming he stays fit. Yeah, thank you, Singh. Yeah, I'm just going to double check this quickly. Like I said, I have no idea what's happening right now. Now, that's really weird. Yeah, so according to the YouTube studio, it says that the stream is healthy, but OBS is all over the place. I'm actually having a feeling that the problem might not even be... Well, it's either the internet, for sure, or it's OBS itself, so I need to check that. Yeah, all right, so, yeah. What the hell is happening here? Yeah, no, this is all over the place right now. So I'm going to answer a few more questions, and I'm probably going to wrap up early and just make sure this doesn't happen again. I do apologize for it, but yeah, it doesn't look like good viewing. I just checked it out and previewed it myself, and yeah, it just keeps buffering. So basically, whenever I answer a question, it... yeah, no, the PC is pretty good. It's a Mac, but it's never really happened before. But yeah, I'm probably going to cut it short. Yes, but it's been happening, I think, all stream. That's the problem. So I answer a question, and then literally when I'm giving the answer, it cuts out. It kind of freezes, then goes back. I can see it in OBS. It goes from green traffic light to red. and that basically means no signals being received. So it's a laptop setup, but like I said, I've never had issues with it. So whenever I've had like internet, or whenever I had the streams cut out, the stream would literally just cut out completely because of the internet. But right now, yeah, it's an internet problem for sure, but it's kind of a bit frustrating because I'm still in the stream, but it just keeps kind of cutting me out basically and freezing. So I'm not sure if it's a cable or something or the internet itself. I'll probably just check on another device as well. Try to answer some questions as well in the meantime. Hopefully we can continue, but if not, I'll probably cut it short. Botman or share? I'd go for Botman. Darwin to Kane, Salah to KDB, and Cancelo to Ake. Yes, I would do that for a -4. Welcome Esteban. Mi defensa es a quién pondrías de titular entre Cancelo, Botman o White. Y yo pondría Cancelo por la doble fecha. Yo no creo que va a jugar los dos partidos, pero todavía tiene la posibilidad. White sería último en eso. Entonces es entre Botman y Cancelo, y yo iría por Cancelo. Triple captain Haaland. Like I said, I don't see a problem with triple captaining Haaland. He's going to have the best chance of expected minutes. I see him starting and getting 180 minutes, but my issue is the two fixtures. They're two difficult games, and City haven't been great in particular, and I don't see Haaland, maybe scoring as many points here in this week compared to future ones if City were to have doubles against the likes of Brighton and West Ham, but it all depends on the FA Cup. Welcome Irish BVB, -8, James, Salah, Darwin to Botman, KDB, Kane. Sets me up for future game weeks, but don't like hits usually. Yeah, I agree with that. I think the transfers are fine, and you can always bring Salah back in if Liverpool were to double in 21, so I'd go for it, Irish BVB. Hey Dylan, sell Cucurella or White for Botman. I have no Kepa, by the way. Don't sell White over Cucurella. I'd sell Cucurella for Botman. I think that's a very simple transfer, and you can just bench White this week. Yes, Kempachi, basically every time before I start a stream, I always check, and all the tests were fine. So it's just a matter of latency. In certain moments, the internet is dropping. So yeah, I just need to figure out the cause of that. What do we do with Cancelo? It's a tricky one, but if you don't have a Shaw, a Botman, or a Trippier, I would probably look to sell Cancelo for one of them. Even potentially to an Ake or a Kanji, especially for free. When you involve hits, it starts to get a bit more murkier and a bit tricky, but I'd probably sell in most cases, because even if you keep Cancelo for this double, I'd look to sell him in the long term. Best Cancelo replacement, as always, Shaw, White, Botman, Trippier. White, not this week, because he faces Tottenham, but in the long term, I think he's a good transfer, and the other one would be Ake or a Kanji. Thank you, Esteban, I appreciate it as well. No KDB, I will be bringing him in. I will be. Triple captain is not active. If it was, I think the captaincy would be white and black instead of black and white. Thank you, the Teddy Tavern. Much confidence in Kepa over Ward. I predicted last week even that Chelsea would keep a clean sheet against Palace. I will still keep with that. Chelsea have been absolutely awful, but so have Palace. And I wouldn't want to double up on Chelsea defence. I wouldn't bet on Chelsea keeping a clean sheet, but yeah, I'd have more confidence in Kepa over Ward. I don't see any of them really keeping a clean sheet right now, based on current form, but football isn't always like that, and you just can't rule it out. Foden to Mahrez, 2 sideways for a hit. I think it's worth it. I think Mahrez is more likely to start both games. I don't see Foden doing that. 1 start maximum. It can always backfire, but I'd go for it. Kulusevski, forced double game week. He was in my original best free hit team video. I think he will start against Arsenal and also against Man City. And he's a decent choice. But then again, you've got Almiron, Rashford, Martinelli, Odegaard in the long term. You've also got the likes of Rashford with a double game week now. Mahrez. I think they're all better choices. So I probably wouldn't go for him. The only Spurs asset I'd definitely go for is Harry Kane. Best City defender, Akanji and Ake. Thank you, John. I appreciate it as well. I'm not sure if YouTube is completely bugging out as well. Let me just double check this. I think we do have over 100 likes. But yeah, let's keep on pushing. I know it's been a very turbulent stream. I'm not sure what's happening. Like I said, I do apologize. It's very rare for this kind of constant buffering to happen. But if you haven't already, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. It really helps out the channel. And just thank you very much to everyone who has stuck by and still asking questions, and also providing some feedback to others as well in the chat. I do appreciate it. Yeah, it's happened again. Yeah, we are back again. I honestly, it's unbelievable. I'm literally talking about the internet, and it kind of comes back again. But yes, I'm still soldiering on. probably will wrap up very soon, though, like I said, and make my transfers. Yeah, maybe, John. Yeah, maybe. I honestly have no idea. When are you activating the triple captain? Later in the season. I can't give you a precise game week because beyond Double Gameweek 23, we don't have any confirmed doubles afterwards, but we will have plenty. What's wrong with Martial? Well, he's had an injury problem for around a week, and he's been in training, but he's a doubt. And I'd be a bit surprised if he started against City, but yeah, he's not the worst option, but I think there are 5 or 6 better forwards in the game. Is it crazy not to have KDB? No, I don't think it's crazy because bear in mind he's blanked in every single game since the restart. I think he is a good option. But yeah, I'm going to go for him. I think his performances have been enough. Underlying numbers have been good, but more importantly, the eye test, I think he's been playing very well. Yeah, thank you, Sophia. I appreciate it. Tony or Kane to bring in for a -4? Kane. I'd rather bring in Kane for a -4, but you can't go wrong with either. 1 second. Andreas, Botman, Gabriel, pick 2. I would pick Botman and Andreas. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'll do that, Sophia. Actually, I don't even have data right now. That's the thing. I was actually considering something. I might do it even now. It would require me to go AFK for a little bit, but yeah, anything can happen. Wilson start? Yeah, I think Wilson will start. He's a good option, but once again, 5 or 6 forwards that I think will be even better in the long term. He's far too injury prone for my liking. Start Cucurella or Gabriel. I'd actually go for Cucurella this week. Better chance against Palace at home than Arsenal do against Spurs away. The one I'd bench from that is Bueno. I'd bench him and start Cancelo Mitrovic. Thank you, Cyril. I appreciate it. I wish you the best as well. Sell Estupinian or White and bench other, thinking White to eventually get triple Arsenal attack. Wow, that would be quite something. I personally would sell Estupinian instead of White, but if you really want triple Arsenal attack, then it has to be White from those two. Andres, yeah, we did that already. Tony to Havertz for a -8. Yeah, I would get Tony in for Havertz, yeah, even for another hit. Triple captain, I don't think I'm going to be playing it this week. Ward or Ramsdale? Ward. Nunez to Martial for a -4. I wouldn't go for Martial. I want to say he's not going to start against City. Like, I can't tell you that for sure, but in my opinion, he won't. That's my prediction, and I think there are better forwards. I'd rather go to Tony for a -4. Yeah, Tony can play, but the suspension can happen at any point, so bear that in mind when making your decision. Mount to Rashford for a -4. Yes. I don't even know why I thought about that. Sell Mitrovic or Martial for Kane for a -4. I'd sell Martial to Kane and keep Mitrovic. Tony or Anthony? I'd rather go for Tony for sure. City vs United, who will win? My initial prediction was City. I'll back that. I think United are obviously in the better form, and I think they have a better chance than they would have done maybe a few weeks ago, but I'd still go for City. Sorry, I forgot Ake or Botman. Pretty sure you said Botman. Yeah, like I said, Ake is one of the more likely City defenders to play twice. For this week, Ake is the better option than Botman, and he's also got a double in 23. But beyond Game Week 20, do you back Ake to start every single week? I don't, and I think Botman is the better choice long term. But this week, yeah, Ake is the better choice, of course. Doherty or Botman? I'd go for Botman, despite Doherty's double. I haven't made my transfers yet. Yeah, back. Sorry. So sometimes I'm muting myself just to preview and see when exactly the lag started. But yeah, let's go for a few more questions quickly. And like I said, I'm probably going to wrap up prematurely just because it doesn't make for smooth viewing. Captain, you can see on screen, I'm going for Haaland. Nothing special there. Gaeta or Ward start? I would go for... I'd go for Gaeta for the double, but I'm not really expecting anything there. Hi Dylan, what do you think of Varane, Martinez? Not sure who plays for City. The thing is, Varane is obviously a bit more established since coming back from the World Cup. Lisandro Martinez only got his first start against Charlton. So I'd probably go for Varane out of the two, but at the same time, Varane is far more injury prone, and in the long term, Martinez will be the better pick. But in the immediate short term, Varane might oddly enough be the safer one. So it's kind of a bit of a mixed bag. I'd probably just go for the long-term option in Martinez. In terms of, you're not sure about who plays for City, that's completely fair enough. Kulusevski news we covered. He's going to start Conte said he is available to play against Arsenal. Trippier for captain. No, I wouldn't captain him this week. Fulham are a decent side, and also you've got so many double gaming players like Rashford, De Bruyne, Haaland, Kane. I just wouldn't captain Trippier this week. Hi Dylan, thoughts on Bruno? I wouldn't go for him in FPL. Yeah, I just don't think he's worth the money. Even if he does well in this double game week, you'd probably want to sell him afterwards. So I just don't see him going back to those levels that he showed 2 years ago. Start Gabriel or Castagna. I'd go for Castagna. Lisandro or Botman. I would go for, well, Lisandro because he's got the double. And yes, he might not start both games. But still, if he starts both, he's obviously got a higher chance. I think that Crystal Palace game is where United have a really good chance to have a clean sheet. Can't afford KDB. Next best City midfielder option. Kevin De Bruyne. Well done, yeah. Mahrez. It'd be Mahrez. Sorry, it's just that in the back of my mind, I'm still thinking about the... I'm not even going to mention... Every time I mention the word, it cuts out, so I'm not going to say it. Salah to KDB, worth it? Yes, it is worth it. Stones, missing out the first game. Maybe could feature against Tottenham, but he's completely ruled out against Manchester United tomorrow. Sell Nunez and Cancelo to Kane and Botman? Yes, I would. Salah to KDB for a -8 or keep Salah? I would take the hit for KDB, personally. Hi Dylan, thoughts on Salah to KDB for a -4? Yep, like I said, I'd do it. Start Martinelli or Botman? I would start Botman. Tony for Mitrovic for a -4, what do you think? Well, you can see the poll. You can see what most people think, and that is what I'm mainly leaning towards. And I talked about my team selection video. If Tony's kind of cleared on all fronts, then I would have definitely got him in for Mitrovic. He's going to start tomorrow. That's confirmed by Thomas Frank. My main concern is still the betting breaches. When will the repercussions happen? We don't know. That's always going to be a problem. And also, Brentford could blank in Game Week 25, so that could also be a transfer waiting to happen very soon. But I have to say, yes, it's worth it. I'm probably going to do it myself and also bring in Kevin De Bruyne. The only thing that puts me off as well from that what I just said, is the fact that I would still have Cucurella. I want to get rid of him ASAP, to be fair. I reckon triple captain Haaland. What about you? Like I said, if you were to triple captain a player this week, it probably would be him, Kane or Rashford. My main concern is that the fixtures aren't great, and also you've got a few other issues there, such as Haaland himself not being at his best, and I think there will be better opportunities later this season, whether it's with Haaland or another City player, or with players from different teams with double game weeks. I think there'll be a better set of doubles for triple captaincy. I am not using the triple captaincy this week. I discussed this already. I know I've been crying out a lot whilst I've been giving explanations, but when am I likely to play it? In a double game week later this season. We don't know the exact fixtures or the exact game weeks it will be a double in, but it'll be later this season. Probably not 23, but beyond that. Odegaard or Casemiro? Odegaard, all day long. Mount Mahrez for a -4? Yes. Wilson or Tony? It'd be Ivan Tony. Free hit, you can check out the video I made yesterday. It's an updated version, so it's got all the latest information. Convince me to captain Haaland. I mean, the thing is, I don't really mind Rashford or Kane either. It's just up to you. Who do you think scores the most points? Don't just captain the player that you think will score. Don't just captain the player that you're kind of scared of not captaining. Like Haaland, his effective ownership will be over 200%. Just go for the one that you think will score the most points. If you think it's Haaland, go for it. Don't overcomplicate it. Sure, Ake. Sure for sure. Yeah, we got that question again. Is Tony back? Yes, he's confirmed to start. We covered this. Doherty or Botman para esta fecha? Botman. Cancelo replaced for a -4. Who should be the replacement? Or is it even a must? It's not a must, but in the long term, I would sell him. Which players? Sure. I think Shaw's the must-have. You probably have him already. If so, then I'd look at C defender like Ake or Kanji, not to mention Botman and Trippier. Long-term, Ben White's another good choice as well. So it just depends who you have already. Start Mitrovic or Ben White? I'd go for Mitrovic. You can see on my team. Saka to KDB for a -4. Yes, I think I would do it. But bear in mind with Saka, you might want him back in the weeks to come. And you could always just go for Martinelli or Odegaard instead. Captain Salah or De Bruyne? I'd captain De Bruyne from those two, but I'd just rather go for Haaland or Harry Kane, to be honest. Cancelo to Botman or Ake? Botman for me. I think long-term he's the better choice. What happened to Cancelo? He just lost his place. He's out of favour, and Pep Guardiola's put in some quite unusual team selections, to be fair. Is Martial out for both games? No. He has a chance of playing against Man City, but my prediction is he won't start there and maybe start against Palace. Not sure whether to captain Haaland or Rashford. I don't blame you, to be fair. I think Rashford's a really good choice considering his form, but I'm going for Haaland myself. Is it possible to activate the free hit and bench boost in the same game week? No. The way it works is you can only play one chip at a time, and you can sometimes play in a sequence. So, for example, you can wildcard in like Game Week 31 as one example, and then in the next week you can bench boost in 32, and then let's say we have a blank in 34, you can then play the free hit in Game Week 34. That's the way you can do it, but you can never play two chips in the same game week. That is never an option. Any better game week to triple captain? I can't tell you just yet because we don't know the doubles later in the season, but I think there will be better fixtures for Man United, Arsenal, and maybe Man City, depending on the FA Cup. But a lot depends on other competitions. I can't tell you for sure right now, but in my opinion, there will be better fixtures than Man United and Tottenham for Man City. Okay, so enough talk. Like Adil says, what are your moves this week? I'm going to be doing them right now. So, the transfers I think I'm going to make this week are Ivan Toney in for Mitrovic. I like Mitrovic, by the way, but it's just a case of going for Toney with those fixtures, being aggressive for Mitrovic. I'm going to play that double Newcastle defence anyway. I like Fulham. Offensively, they're good. They're 6th in the table. Mitrovic has been doing really well, but Ivan Toney, those three fixtures are just irresistible, really. And De Bruyne is coming in for Mohamed Salah for a -4. If I were to change my mind now, literally last second, what would I do? Keep Mitrovic and instead do Cucurella to Akanji or Ake. That's literally where my mind's at right now. I'm going to be checking Twitter just very quickly and see if there's any kind of news, but I don't think we'll get anything just yet. Thank you, Sophia. I appreciate it. The worry of triple captain later in the season is the fixture congestion. Yeah, that is true. That's why the big kind of plus and the big argument for triple captaining Haaland now is that we know he's going to start both games and play 180 minutes. You've got Kevin De Bruyne fully fit as well. There's a lot of variables and things that could change by the time we get to later in the season. What to do with Trossard? Sell him. Sell him. He's a doubt anyway. I think he's red flagged actually. And even if he was fit and available to play, I don't think he starts. Martial to Toney for a -4. Yes, I would do it. Akanji best family defender other than Botman? No, I think Shaw's better, to be honest. But in terms of City defenders, Akanji and Ake are the best choices for sure. Let's see what else we have. Is Ake better than Botman for this week? Yes. For this week he is. Long term, I don't think so. Cancelo and Kepa to Castagna and Edison for a -4. Castagna? No. I wouldn't go for a Leicester defender. Edison's not bad, but I just wouldn't do that hit, to be honest. I'd probably keep Cancelo and Kepa, actually. Odegaard or Rodrigo? This week, Rodrigo. Long-term Odegaard. We discussed this already. Is Pep Roulette way too much? Yes, it is way too much. That's the problem. Otherwise, we just go for these City options. Mahrez or Kulusevski? Mahrez. Ward against Crystal Palace. Or Mitrovic to bench. Oh no, Ward for Crystal Palace. I'd rather bench Ward and start Mitrovic. Bench boost active. Good luck, John. I've seen a few people mention that actually, so I do wish you luck. Yeah, FPL website, I would expect it to crash. So if you can, try to make your transfers very soon. I'd say by 6:15, that's where things could get very rough. Not sure if you've seen, mate, but Trossard has asked to leave Brighton. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. And De Zerbi was talking about his lack of commitment in training. And there's a reason why he lost his spot. He also has looked completely just unmotivated. Against Arsenal, he was awful. And also the game before that against Southampton, Brighton scored 3 goals and Trossard was absolutely poor. So, yeah, that doesn't surprise me too much, but I wasn't aware. So thank you for that. If not triple captain Haaland, would you captain Rashford? Not necessarily. If you think Haaland scores more points than Rashford, just go for Haaland. Don't just go for Rashford because you want to be different and, all of this stuff about effective ownership and do you gain more points in a certain way. But is Rashford worth considering over Haaland? Yes. Am I going to go for it? Probably not, but not a bad choice. Of course not. Forza Mahrez. If it maybe wasn't for what's happened in the past with Pep Roulette and so many other factors to consider, I would probably go for him. But I just think De Bruyne is far safer. He started pretty much every single game bar one, I think, against Nottingham Forest. So for me, De Bruyne is going to be my transfer. But if it wasn't for a lack of, for Mahrez being less nailed than De Bruyne, let's say, I probably would go for him, considering his form. Pick one for this week, Cancelo or White, whom to play? Cancelo all day long. White against Tottenham doesn't look great. Salah to KDB for a -8 or keep Salah. I would take the hit for KDB personally. If it requires 2 transfers and then that would mean a -8, then no. But if it's just Salah to De Bruyne, you've already made a -4 hit and it's just another one, I would take the hit. You reckon Trent's an option? No. I talked about this in the transfer tips video. He's a skip for me. I wouldn't go for him. Tony in for Mitrovic, yes. Zizzi, Tony's available. He's going to start tomorrow. Confirmed by Thomas Frank himself. Start Mitrovic or Ake. I would go for Ake. If you're going to bring in a City defender, you obviously have to start him. Bring in Ake, Kane, Tony, and Shaw for a -8. Who are you bringing out, though? But the players you're bringing in, fantastic. No problems with them whatsoever. Is Lewis a good pick? He's not a bad pick. I think he's decent, actually, at that price. But I think there are better City defenders who are more likely to start both games. I think Lewis starts one, and maybe Cancelo starts the other. Saliba or Cancelo? This week, Cancelo. Long term, who do I prefer? Saliba. Sheesh, we literally featured your comment just now. James, Cancelo, and Darwin to Ake, Shaw, and Kane. Yep, looks fine. I'd do it. Start Mitoma, Martinelli. I did say Martinelli earlier, but I would heavily consider Mitoma. Most mailed Man United defenders. Right now, I would say Luke Shaw, then Varane. Lissandra in general is one of the most nailed, and he's also not injury prone like Varane, but he's also just coming back from the World Cup, of course. Only one start since then the other day. Tony in for Mitrovic or Martial. I'd rather keep Mitrovic and sell Martial, despite Martial having a better fixture this week, so to speak. Saka's a transfer out? Not necessarily. I think he starts against Tottenham, and they're pretty poor defensively. Best City defender? Akanji or Ake. I think either one is fine. It could go either way, but my preference is Akanji. That is what I originally said a week or two ago. I'll stick with that. Best City defender to buy. That also answers your question. So that's all covered. Start Kepa or Pope? I'd start Pope, honestly. Pope all day long. Best City defender to buy. Yep, we covered that as well. Darwin, James, Tony, Shaw. Yep, I'd go ahead with the transfers. I think that it's very simple, actually. All right, so I think it's just time to do the transfers. I have confirmed my transfers. No site crash. Tony is available to play. We covered this earlier today. For those of you that might have missed it, or maybe I lagged out during the explanation or something. But yeah, this I think will be my final team. So Kepa in goal, Trippier, Shaw, Botman in the defence, Rashford, Martinelli, De Bruyne, Almiron in the midfield, and then the front three of Tony, Kane, and Haaland, with Haaland captain, Kane vice. If it wasn't for the yellow card suspension risk for Kane, I think I would captain him, triple captain him, maybe. It would be a consideration, but I think I'm going to save that ship for later in the season, and I think I'm just going to go for a boring Haaland captaincy, unfortunately. Cancelo to who? Already have, let me just bring this up, already have Trippier and Shaw. I would either go to a City defender, like Akira Kanji, or I would go for Botman. Darwin to Kane for a hit? Yeah, I wouldn't even think about it. Best Brighton midfielder? I think McAllister, then Mitoma, then it would be March. The reason why I think Mitoma is maybe a bit more of a value pick is just because he's 0.5 million cheaper. He's a bit easier to get to, and he's also been fantastic form recently. The thing I like about McAllister, though, is the possibility of playing in an offensive midfield position, so having a bit more impetus in the final third, and also being on penalties potentially. No, I don't think I'm going to triple captain right now. Is there a chance Cancelo could start at least one? Like I said earlier, I think he starts one game, but he won't start both. I could be wrong, don't hold me to it, but that's the way I'd go about it. I think that's very simple. I'd go for Tony. It's up to you. Would take in Mount for Mahrez or Kepa for Edison for a hit, or keep it as it is? Yeah, Mount to Mahrez is completely fine. I would do that. If we were to make a transfer this week, I would get rid of Mount for Mahrez. Start Ramsdale versus Ward. I would start Ward. Martial or Mbeumo? Probably Martial, and that's with the assumption he starts against Palace, which isn't, completely nailed on. Who to sell Trossard for? I don't know which players you have already, Dan, so let me know. That would help me in terms of giving you the answer. Hi Dylan, would you do Mount to Mahrez? Yep, I would do that. Like I said, DNN. Worth taking a hit to get Digne out for anyone? Sure. Shaw's the only defender I'd take a hit for this week, I think. Salah plus Mitrovic out to Mahrez and Kane for a -4. Yep, I would do it. You're getting rid of 2 good players, but you're also bringing in a fantastic duo for Game Week 20, and Kane is the best premium in the game besides Haaland. Walker or Cancelo? Probably Walker because he's 2 million cheaper, but honestly, right now I would ideally have neither. 0.2 million in the bank, no hits taken yet. Keep Martial or sell, and for who? Well, I'd maybe take a hit from Martial to Tony or to a Kane. Apart from that, I'd probably just keep Martial. Put into KDB for a 3rd hit. I think it's worth it. I'd go for it. White for another Newcastle defender. I would still keep White, unless you're looking to have a triple up in Arsenal offensively, you know, when the fixtures come good around Game Week 22. I'd probably just keep White, to be fair. But this week, I don't want to start White, but at the same time, I'm happy to start him. Will Cucurella start? I'm not sure, and to be honest, I'm not that bothered. I don't think I'll start him many times this season whilst I have him, so it's not a big deal. But he has been awful. The thing is, you know, you've still got Chilwell kind of recovering, and maybe when he's fully back and available, that's when he loses a spot. But then, in the meantime, who plays as the left back? You know, Chelsea don't have too many options right now. Welcome, Rajashal. Good to see you. Oh, Rajashari, sorry. Rodrigo and De Bruyne or Fernandes and Mahrez? Rodrigo and De Bruyne. Would you take a -8 hit to bring in Mitrovic to Tony, Patterson to Botman, and Salah to KDB? Yes, I would. Cancelo and Saka to De Bruyne and Ake? Yes, I would do that as well. Start White or Mitrovic? I'd go for Mitrovic. Sterling plus Cancelo / Robertson to KDB plus who? For a -8. Yeah, I think that's good. In terms of who to bring in, sure. If not, Botman, Aki or Akanji, any one of those would be fine. I'm guessing you don't have all of them. Ward or Kepa? You can see the answer on screen, mate. I'm going for Kepa. Play Kepa or Ward? Yep, once again, same thing. Is Ivanson starting over Ward? I don't think so. I think Ward will continue to start. Which duo do you prefer, Salah, McAllister or Bruno Mount? Salah, McAllister. Is it worth a -8 to transfer Darwin to Kane if you already have Kulusevski? Yep, I think it's worth it. Yeah. So, Lager, it boiled down to this, basically. So, in terms of the weak link in my team, it's definitely Cucurella, then probably Kepa. But Cucurella for me is definitely the worst player I have in my squad. The way I saw it though, Tony's next 3 fixtures, he's got a really high ceiling. He could also have a double in Game Week 22 potentially. And you've got Mitrovic, who's got, I wouldn't say bad fixtures. I think he could do well against Tottenham, Chelsea, and he's got Forest shortly afterwards. But the Newcastle game, I've already got 2 Newcastle defenders there. I wouldn't want to start Mitrovic, but at the same time, I don't want to start 2 Chelsea defenders with Kepa in goal and Cucurella. So I think the kind of easiest solution for me was to get in De Bruyne for Salah, which was Ake or Akanji, but, you know, I've kind of said this like 10 or 11 times. It's really close between the 2. I don't think, you know, there's kind of a clear standout, and that's why that's probably so, you know, commonly asked. But Akanji was my kind of initial bet, and I'm going to stick with it. But Ake is also fine. Me, Ake, Akanji, or Perisic? Yeah, I'd go for Akanji or Ake. Any one of those. Almiron or Rodrigo? I would go for Almiron. The app is already in the mode. Let me actually check that. Thank you, Joel, for bringing that to my attention. And let me know, by the way, if I've lagged or anything. I don't really want to say the key word because anytime I've said it, it seems like it's lagged. But yeah, let me know just so I can know for future reference. I'll be watching the stream back, seeing when it started and seeing what the course could have been because, like I said, it wasn't smooth viewing at one point, which I do apologize for. Should I start Bailey over Trent? I'd probably still start Trent, but it's not a bad idea there. Saka's fine. He just had a knock against Oxford. Arteta said he should be good, so wouldn't be concerned. Captain Haaland or Rashford? I'm going for Haaland, so that's my answer, but Rashford's fine as well. Good captaincy option. Akanji or Shaw? Shaw. Shaw for me is a far better option in the long term, and you know he's going to start. He's got bonus points potential. He can get assists. I think Shaw's the clear winner. Bench 1, it would be Bueno. I'd start the other 2. Martial plus Cucurella to Kane and Botman -4. Yes, I wouldn't even hesitate there, Patrick. I think it's a good set of transfers there. Thank you, Pedri. I appreciate that as well. Lewis or Ake for a -4?